My name is Jeanine Nodder. 2020 is an election year. Before we head to the polls in September for the primary and again in November for the general election, it's good to match faces with the names you see on the ballot. My name is on the ballot here in Merrimack, where I'm seeking my 6th term in the New Hampshire House of Representatives. At the federal level, I hope to see New Hampshire send a conservative to represent us in Congress. Matt Mayberry is one of the candidates, and he's my guest this week on Chatting with Jeanine, the virtual edition. Welcome, Matt.
Perfect. Jeanine, it's always good to see you. I'd like to be in the same studio with you, but this works too.
This does work, and plus, I don't often invite people over to my house, so you're one of the first candidate actually to get to come to my house.
And welcome to my spare bedroom. So.
I love the background. I've been doing a summer series on with my brother, a historian. We've been following the Marines around the Pacific in World War II. But he's on vacation this week, so I thought, well, I'm going to start the candidates then, and you're the first one. And before I ask you about yourself, I want to just show you my new glasses and ask you what you think of them.
Those are outstanding. Those are awesome. I think they're great.
They have 20/20 vision. So, Matt, you have been involved.
And hopefully the good voters of Merrimack have the same vision and return you to another term, because you do a great job in Concord. You're kind and generous and thoughtful. You are conscientious in your work. You truly do a really good job.
Thank you. And I can say the same to you. I know you've been involved in politics in New Hampshire for a number of years, and you've been very helpful to all of us over the years. I remember one year the Merrimack Republicans were handing out toothbrushes shaped like little elephants during the 4th of July parade. And you gave us stickers. You bought them for us that said vote Republican or something like that on the back. And so thank you for that. And I haven't forgotten your kindness, and that's why you get to be the first guest to be on the virtual edition of Chatting with Jeanine, Candidates Edition.
Yay! Good.
So tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for letting me be here. I'm 55 years old. I live in Dover. I'm an Air Force veteran. I was Airman of the Year for my squadron. I've lived in New Hampshire about 35 years now. I was one of the commissioners of human rights for the state of New Hampshire, appointed by Chris Sununu. I produce gun shows in New Hampshire.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
Box. So you can see the exit wound.
Perfect.
Not in the house. I shot it at the range.
I said, but the moral of that story is, don't make you cranky and don't break into your house, because you will leave with an exit wound also.
Yes.
So, and I also do large-scale food truck festivals. Over the years, the last 7 or 8 years, I've taken care of about 60 homeless students in Dover High School. I make sure they have food to eat. I make sure they go to their prom, make sure they get a yearbook, they get their cap and gown. I volunteer for the Salvation Army. I've done a lot with COVID and helping our first responders that I'm sure we'll talk about during our time together. I'm just a guy who's ingrained in the part of New Hampshire. I'm part of the fabric. Jeanine, I got into this race because I found 4 veterans who were going to lose their access to mental health care because the VA didn't pay their bills. So I raised $10,000, got them taken care of. Then I found 90 veterans who were going to lose their home health care because they're a little bit older, needed home health care. And that agency was owed $67,000 from the VA. And Chris Pappas didn't get that bill paid. Then we found out the medical community in New Hampshire is owed $134 million in unpaid medical bills from the VA. The reason why I tell you that is because Chris Pappas is chairman of the oversight committee of the VA. He has oversight over them, and he couldn't do anything. He dropped the ball. And it's important for your viewers at home, because if Mr. Pappas can't take care of 4 veterans and their mental health care, what's he not doing for you? When you need him, is he going to be there? I don't think so. That's why I jumped in this race.
When you first mentioned his name, I was going to ask, but who is it? Who is Chris Pappas? Because I'm sure there's people out there who don't know who he is. I forgot.
Exactly. He's been invisible. He has been absolutely invisible. He voted for a $15 hour minimum wage. He voted to give $9.8 billion of taxpayer dollars to illegal immigrants in this latest Heroes aid package. Awful, just awful. He promised all of us that he'd be a moderate. And he went down there, he ran to the left as fast as he could. He chased Donald Trump all around Capitol Hill, trying to get him impeached when New Hampshire was collapsing.
There's a lot of candidates who say that they're moderates, and then they turn out to not be.
Exactly.
State level as well. So
Yep.
you're a humanitarian.
Yep.
And you mentioned COVID and what do you call it? Hand sanitizer. Aren't you connected to getting hand sanitizer distributed from?
Exactly. You have a good memory that because I think that actions speak louder than tweets all the time.
Okay.
That's not my line. Someone gave me that line. I said I'm going to steal it. So it's not even my original line. But actions do speak louder than tweets. And that I went out and found 200 gallons of hand sanitizer and delivered them to our police departments and our first responders and firefighters, including Merrimack, at no charge. Just drop it off. And it wasn't a campaign issue. It was just me, Matt Mayberry, helping out. I delivered almost 300 meals through the Stratford County Meals on Wheels program to low-income seniors who were homebound. Found 25 Chromebooks for some low-income kids so they could do their at-home learning. And then we found 2,000 face masks for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, so those first responders could have the proper PPE.
Mm-hmm.
But it continues on. Exactly.
So
and it continues on. This is where you come in, because you played a huge role in this. That, and the follow-up to that, we found this whole defund and dismantle of our police departments, and that's just
bad idea. Bad idea.
Horrible idea. And I put up the idea of going to the Merrimack Police Department to say thank you as an appreciation. And you, my friend, took charge of that, and you had it was almost 30 people out there. I mean, you just got everyone to show up, and it was so great that the officers came out and they thanked us. This happens all around the state. I've done it 17 times now. The reaction's the same. People honk, they wave. The police officers come out and say thank you. And we do it in front of the police departments because we want them to hear us. We want them to hear that gratitude from the people of New Hampshire. And you, my friend, led that charge in Merrimack, and you're just outstanding.
Thank you. Hopefully I don't get out next time. No, I'm not going to go there. I was going to say I've been pulled over, but I haven't been pulled over. I'm going to knock on wood. Getting back to that 200 gallons of hand sanitizer, there's a distillery, a flag.
Yeah.
Is it flag? Because we passed by it going to UNH when we had our last two house.
Oh, my friend.
But I think that's the place that Matt Mayberry went to get.
Exactly.
It smells like gin or something.
Yes, all the above. So next time, just take that wheel and just go a little bit to the right and just pull in. They have great wine. They have gin, rye, whiskey, apple brandy, and a whole bunch of wine. It's Flag Hill Distillery and Winery, right in Lee.
Yeah. And where it's at.
And it's awesome. Brian Ferguson and his team were just great. They didn't even ask. They just said, take it, go, go, go. And, we just took literally gallons and delivered them all around the state. We got a bunch of friends together for distribution, and he never asked for a penny. He didn't even ask for a thank you. Obviously, everyone has thanked him, but it's that community in New Hampshire coming together. And that's why I think it's important that we have someone from New Hampshire represent us in Congress. Because if you're new to the state, you don't know to contact Brian Ferguson and his distillery. Hey, can you switch over a machine and start making this? If you don't have those connections, those things get really hard to do.
Mm-hmm. So I know this is such a different year, with everyone staying home, and campaigning is challenging, and it's always challenging, but now even more so. So I don't know how you're doing it, being a congressional candidate, going around the state, and what the issues are. What are the voters asking you?
Yeah, I was the first one to actually do live in-person events and campaigning. I've been at the Brentwood 4th of July parade. I was at a great house party in Hooksett on Friday night. I had 7 of my own events a few weeks ago in different house parties. And they're concerned, but even more so, things like, getting our drugs manufactured here in the United States and not China. Mm-hmm. Getting that personal protective equipment, that PPE, manufactured here in America. It's taking care of their kids. It's taking care of, I think now, especially, the option of school choice and how we educate our children has been ripped open. saying like we don't have to do the typical brick and mortar for our kids. We can do some other things. So it's all good, and same concerns, except they all kind of stay 6 feet apart. Some people wear masks, some people don't. That's their prerogative. But they're hungry, and they want the Democrats out. They don't want Basement Biden in there. They don't want Chris Pappas. They don't want Jeanine, and they sure as they want to make you the majority. I want you to be chair of one of these committees, my friend. Let's get back the House. Let's get back the Senate. I'm the only candidate running for Congress who's committed to helping our state rep and state Senate candidates. Because it's important. It's part of my job to help those behind me to go. I'm not going to do this forever. I want Jeanine not to run for Congress is what I really want. So I got to get the majority so you can come take my place.
Yeah, I'm currently the deputy Republican floor leader, so it used to be called the whip. So I'm going to just step off the camera so I can grab this book. Sorry, because I actually have my picture in the black book for the first time ever. So I can zoom in on that.
Well done.
All right, so there we are.
Well done.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool. Not many people make the black book.
I know. There are only five Republicans made the black book, and I'm one of them.
Yeah, so I mean that's good, but it's one where we need to reach out, and I volunteer for the Salvation Army. I've cooked for soup kitchens. I've done breakfasts for homeless shelters. And Jeanine, the reason why I do that is I grew up poor in Maine.
I grew up poor in
California. Really? Yeah. To this day, I will not eat a saltine cracker. Won't do it. As someone as a kid. What's that?
Yeah, those were our cookies.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
There was always saltine crackers in the house.
Always salt. Like, why? But, the Rotary Club brought Christmas, and the Kiwanis Club did Thanksgiving. And I've been paying it back ever since, because I know what it's like to be poor. Mm-hmm. One of the first things when I was on the Dover School Board, I served 3 terms on the Dover City Council, a term on the Dover School Board, and I walked in, and there were 2 trays. There were green trays for the regular paying kids, and the low-income kids had an orange tray. That lasted about 30 seconds when I walked through that door. And they just didn't think about it. It's like, we've done it for 20 years like this. Well, it stops today.
My parents didn't have much, but they were very proud. So we didn't get the handouts. We didn't get free lunch. I certainly qualified for it, but we didn't get it. So wow. I had a sandwich and an apple every day. That was my lunch. And it was just white bread and 1 piece of meat, no cheese, just a piece of meat and Miracle Whip. Ugh.
Oh, yeah. I used to have mustard sandwiches a lot also. White bread with just mustard in there. Mm-hmm. And every once in a while the bologna. But, you and I never forget that. And we never forget where we've come from.
Right. And I have my oldest friend. We've been friends since before we even turned 10 years old. She likes to remind me every once in a while. She'll post something. Don't you ever forget where you come from. I won't forget.
Oh, no. Nope. And we don't. And that's, but that's what America's about, Jeanine. You can be in House leadership. I can be a contender for U.S. Congress when, by rights we shouldn't be. I think it's great. And I'm a big believer in God. I believe that Jesus Christ died for my sins. And I pray often. And we're all on a path. And wherever that takes you and I, then that's where we'll go. And we'll serve proudly and humbly.
I'm a believer as well. I couldn't get through a single day without sending up some kind of complaint or plea. So they hear from me often.
Well, it's one where, before I jumped on, I was delivering a sign, and the gentleman was very insistent upon me doing it this morning. Okay, no problem. Deliver the sign, and he looked me in the eye. He said, "I want to talk to you because I don't want to live anymore. Like, I prayed to God this morning to take me." And so I said, "Well, we're going to sit down. We're going to have a conversation about this." And we talked for about a half hour or so, and we prayed together. And I'm going to check on him after this call and a couple hours later and get him through. God puts us in the places where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. So, however this turns out, it's turned out there correctly. And I didn't mean to get so, heavy on our show, but it's important. People suffer out there. They need to know that someone will listen to them. Someone cares. Once upon a time, I considered suicide. So I know what happens. I know how you get there. But I also know how you get out of there. And that's part of my message, to your viewers. If you're watching and you're feeling alone, know that you're not at all. Just reach out. You'll be amazed at who your friends are.
Yeah, I haven't thought about suicide, but just seeing all those monuments being torn down and our history erased and defaced. Father Junipero Serra founded the first 9 missions in California. They tore down his statue, and I got so physically ill from seeing that. I mean, physically ill. That I even told God, you take me today. That's fine. I don't even want to be in this world anymore. If this is our future, seeing America just destroyed and torn down, and hatefully so.
But we can change that future. Our engagement helps. Your viewers at home watching right now can make a huge difference. That I think if we ignore our history, we're bound to repeat it.
Right. That's a famous saying. Those who forget the past are condemned to repeat it. And I've read a lot of history. My brother's an historian, and I read so much history myself. I know what happens. I know what happens when we follow the path that we're following right now. Russian Revolution, the French Revolution, the starvation in the Ukraine. There's so many terrible pieces of history, and it could be repeated.
Absolutely, and as one of the commissioners of human rights for the state of New Hampshire, I believe in dialogue. I know how many cases of discrimination get filed each year. It's about 300. And of that, about 20 to 25 are legitimate enough to move forward. But it happens. So I believe in dialogue. I believe in conversation. But once you start looting and rioting and destroying other people's property, that's where the conversation ends. No more. Done. It's going to go back to a one-sided discussion of you're under arrest. And I think the tearing down of monuments is a knee-jerk reaction to what's going on. Are we going to take the Washington Monument and rename it White Obelisk and Repose? No, it's the Washington Monument.
Mm-hmm. I've got a little shrine to George Washington behind me. I don't know if you could see it.
No.
Yeah, this was a collection of different pictures and books and
like you can't see it, but I can see it from here. Yes. Mm-hmm. Have you been out to Mount Vernon?
I have not. That's on my bucket list. I'd like to go there. Oh.
Reason being is because there's also a vineyard like right next door to it. So you can go get a couple glasses of wine, go to Mount Vernon, tour, come back, have some more. You'd be set.
I've got sparkling water in my...
I was hoping you were reaching for like that wine glass.
Look, the straw matches my sign back there. So your signs are blue?
What's that?
With a red stripe, your signs.
It's blue with an orange stripe because my nephew he loves orange. Mm-hmm. So I asked him to help me pick out the colors. He said, orange, of course. So I think of Ross every time I see when I see my signs with the orange band on it, I think of young Ross. And I think of his dad because I carry his dad's challenge coin. He's a deputy sheriff, and he wears a bulletproof vest to work every single day. And we asked our law enforcement men and women to deal with addiction, to deal with people who are overdosed, crimes against children, accidents. They see the absolute worst of humanity. And then when we tell them we're going to defund you and dismantle you, no. You and I, Jeanine, stand on that thin blue line with them every single day, proudly and strongly. And I carry this as that reminder of that. People wear a bulletproof vest to work every day. You and I don't.
Right. My niece's husband is one of them, and my pastor was with the Manchester Police Department. Yeah. Right over my shoulder, this shoulder, I have a collection of challenge coins. Some of my husband's.
Perfect. Well, should I become a member of Congress, I will gladly come and present one to you, please.
Thank you. The viewers want to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
What's the best way? What's the best way to contact you?
A couple of ways. My real life cell number, you can dial anytime, is 603-969-7077. My personal email is mattmayberrynh@gmail.com. Or Justin, who is like a technological wizard and genius. You're so lucky to have him, if I don't hire him away first. But he has our website right there, mayberryforcongress.com. You can go around there. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Parler and smoke signals and psychic messages. I'll take them all.
What is Parler? I just saw that for the first time, and I thought it was like Facebook, but is it like for singles? Is it for like people?
No, yeah, no.
I kind of thought that's what it was. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going there.
That's some other websites that, no. Parler is Facebook for conservatives.
Oh, so I should be on there.
You should be on it. It's taken me a little while to kind of navigate through it and learn it. But yeah, Parler is Facebook for conservatives.
All right, because I started filling out the requisite to get on there.
They want how old you are. And
right, at some point it kind of looked to me like this. You go there to meet people, to date. And I'm like, I'm not allowed to go there. So I stopped. Yeah, Facebook.
You'd be after a whole new constituency on that other side. Like, hey. But yes, no, absolutely. And, and on my website, we put up, on the first one, talk about issues. Again, I think, actions speak louder than tweets. And you can go on my website. We talk about, immigration and healthcare and a whole bunch of other issues. See what you think. Disagree with me, agree with me, question me, challenge me, educate me, please.
I have your website up behind the Zoom screen, and there's a picture. So I'm on the About Matt Mayberry.
Yes.
At the top of the head. Is that Mike? No. Who is that? Who's that man in the picture?
Mike Huckabee.
Mike Huckabee. It is Mike. Okay.
It is. I was really fortunate to be friends with Mike Huckabee. I actually brought him to New Hampshire for the very first time.
Was it the spaghetti dinner in I was there with a camera with Frankie Miro, who's passed away.
Of course. Yeah.
You knew he passed away.
Yes.
He called me and said, "Hey, Jeanine, you want to get a camera and go meet Mike Huckabee? We'll do a show on the fly." I'd never done a show on the fly before. I had 5 minutes to put something with my face, and I ran there, had no script, nothing. And it was fun. It was a fun interview. I'm a runner. He was running a lot. He ran the 7 Hills in New Hampshire, and we talked a lot about his guitar. And what I remember from the speech was him talking about growing up poor and the lava soap that burned his hands.
Yes. And I remember that. And you got your Frank Miro impression down really, really well. It was like 2 cigars and a Scotch Deep of like, Jeanine, what you doing? But yeah, Mike Huckabee was a great guy. We did a whole bunch of events, and we've stayed friendly ever since. When I ran for Congress, it took him literally under 2 minutes to respond back, like absolutely, and did a great endorsement. And good man. Also, my friend Congressman Peter King endorsed me. But the endorsements that really count are the ones here in New Hampshire. I've got 2 former governors, Governor Craig Benson, Governor Steve Merrill, 2 former speakers of the House, Donna Sitek and Gene Chandler, and then 5 former state Senate presidents, along with over 500 regular, normal like you and I Republicans here in the state of New Hampshire. I have over 400 donors. 94% of my money comes from New Hampshire. I'm not rich. I live in an 800 square foot condominium. My opponent lives in a $1 million condominium in Washington and rents a studio apartment in Bedford. So, I'm running a New Hampshire grassroots campaign, one where I ask everyone for their vote individually. And, I have over 500 people helping. And that's the thrilling part. And I put up the signs myself. Matter of fact, I saw Rick and Pat Smith, who live in Merrimack. I was with them yesterday, putting up their sign, and they're a little taken back that I actually put up my own signs.
I put up my own signs too, but I just run for state rep.
But it's important, though. Without state reps, we would have an income tax. We would have restrictions on our gun rights. Without you, Jeanine, we'd be in a whole different state.
Thank you. And I just wanted to clarify, the reason I didn't recognize Mike Huckabee is because I can only see the top part of his face.
Yeah.
I was afraid to click on it because then you might go away and then I wouldn't know how to get back, and you know how that happens.
Then the interview gets so much better because you just talk about like, we'll talk whatever you want.
Well, you had mentioned Donna Sitek. She was the first female speaker of the New Hampshire House, and she was one of the people who trained me in New Hampshire politics.
That's very cool. And she's an author on New Hampshire political protocol.
Yes, I have that book. It's right over there. I refer to it often. It's called Further Ado.
Yeah. Wow. Yep.
Because I always wonder, like you want to get the titles right when it counts. Usually, I just tell people my name's Jeanine. I don't use my title unless I have to. Yeah. I would rather just people call me by my first name because because I'm just like everybody else. We all are.
Absolutely.
But sometimes you need the title, and I want to be respectful, so I refer to her book often.
Yep, and we're going to use both of our titles to work on the water in Merrimack, because that's a mess.
I'm glad you mentioned the water, because in the last campaign, it was all over social. We have 2 minutes to go. I just got a text. It was all over social media that Republicans did nothing. That is not true at all. Right. And we had legislation that we worked on that I voted on. I voted on all those pieces. And I do have them written somewhere. I tried posting them on social media, and immediately the other side attack. They actually called me a liar. So, this is what I'm up against this term, is the other side saying I'm lying about everything. There's an ad running right now about a vote in the House about an omnibus. The vote was on June 11th, and if that was brought forward, then we would have voted on a big package that would have moved the tolls from Bedford to Merrimack, doubling.
That means our time is up.
The toll. That's all the time we have. But Matt, thank you so much for an awesome guest. And if there's time before the next election, I'll have you back.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much, Justin. Thank you.
Oh, Justin's awesome. I wish he would show himself to all.
I know. But
3 miles up the road.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Well, I will be talking to you on Facebook and in email and text messages and all that other good stuff. So
yep. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome. And thank you, the viewers, for watching. I'll be back with my brother next week. We're going to the island of Iwo Jima. And after that, it's Okinawa. And then the Cat Marines. And then we're back to candidates. So until next week, have a good one.